So service credit, very important because as we discussed, it's one of the 3 factors SDCERA uses to calculate your pension. So the higher your service credit, the higher your monthly payment will be in retirement. Typically, again, service credit, the number of years you've worked for the county. However, there are 5 circumstances in which you can buy service credit. I'll explain what each is, who is eligible, and how to get started. You must complete all your service credit purchases before you retire. Delaying might mean you have to pay more in interest. And just so you know, if you're in tier 1, A and B, service credit purchases can be used toward meeting that 30-year mark when you don't have to pay retirement contributions anymore, which is always great. Let's dig into the first service credit purchase, which is redepositing withdrawn contributions. So this is for folks who have become an SDCERA member for the second time. When you leave the county and you haven't reached retirement age, you can either leave your retirement contributions on deposit with SDCERA with the expectation that one day you'll get a pension from us, or you can take a refund of your contributions. This service credit purchase applies to those who took that refund, but then came back to work for the county. If you want to restore your service credit from your first period of work, you have to redeposit all your refunded contributions and interest. You'll also have to pay the interest your account would have accrued had you left your contributions on deposit with us. You cannot purchase partial service credit under this option. You have to redeposit all your prior contributions and interest. To get started, submit a form called Purchase Service Credit Redeposit, which again, you can find on our website under that Active Members tab. If you originally worked for the county under one tier, but then were placed in tier C or D when you re-entered, you may be able to be brought back into that original tier. Give us a call if that applies to you. Also, redepositing contributions may also help you retire sooner if you're in tier 1A and B. Take a look at our website if you want more information on that. All right, our second type of service credit purchase is service before membership. Maybe you worked as a temporary, hourly, or part-time employee for the county. While working part-time, you can't be an SDCERA member, but if you later were hired on full-time, you can buy service credit for that time spent as a temporary employee. A really good example of this is a student worker. However, you have to have been directly employed by the county, not by a temp agency. The service credit cost in this case is based on your SDCERA contribution rate from when you first became a full-time employee. We take that contribution rate and we multiply it by any wages you earned during that temporary work. You'll also pay interest, which is based on the time between when you became an SDCERA member and when you pay for your service credit purchase. So again, the longer you wait, the more you'll have to pay in interest. Employer pay contributions don't apply here. Get started with a form called Purchase Service Credit, Service Before Membership on our website. Now, we do get this question asked a lot, so I'll address it here. Can you purchase the time between your hire date and your SDCERA entry date? So the first day on your job and when you become an SDCERA member, that's typically about a month. The answer is no, you cannot purchase that time. Moving on to the third type of service credit purchase, sick leave or family medical leave without pay. Sometimes life requires that you take a few weeks or a few months off of work for your health. And you might not have enough vacation or sick time to cover that absence, so you have to take unpaid leave. While you're on unpaid leave, you do not earn service credit, but you might be able to buy it back once you return to work. A couple of caveats here. The sick leave must be for your own illness or injury, and if your absence was more than 12 consecutive months, you could only buy back 12 months worth of service credit. Again, you must return to active paid status at work before you can make this purchase. The cost is the contributions you would have paid during your leave plus interest. Again, no employer paid contributions here. To get started, submit a form called Purchase Service Credit, Sick Leave Without Pay. If you can't remember your leave dates, you can always give us a call. We'll let you know which dates you might be missing service credit. Our second to last service credit purchase, prior public agency work. So this is different from reciprocity. You can establish reciprocity if you expect to receive a pension from your prior public agency. However, if you won't receive a retirement benefit from them, you may be able to at least get service credit. This applies to you if you've worked for one of the agencies on the screen. Federal agencies like the Postal Service, Peace Corps, or AmeriCorps, the state of California, any city in San Diego County, and any public district in San Diego County. Now, what doesn't apply here is prior military time, volunteer time, or unpaid service. You had to have been paid for that job. The cost of the service credit is a bit complicated, so I'll walk you through it. First, we take your first contribution rate you had with the county and multiply it by your first hourly rate that you had with the county and by the months you worked for your prior agency. Then we take all that, multiply it by 2, and add interest. Just so you know, this type of service credit does not count toward your vesting or retirement eligibility. You can get started with a form called Purchase Service Credit Prior Public Agency. Now, with this form, you have to submit documentation from your previous employer, verifying that you worked for them and that you won't receive a retirement benefit from them. So make sure to get all that supporting documentation over to SDCERA. We know that with big employers like the federal government, it might be hard to get a hold of your employment documentation. So when I send out this presentation, you'll be able to click on the links on the screen. Those links will help you get started with agencies that we frequently see requests from. All right, now to our final service credit purchase, military leave without pay. The county actually gives employees 30 paid days per year for military service, but if you have to take unpaid leave, you might be able to get service credit after you're honorably discharged. There are requirements that you have to return to the county within a certain time frame. If you're in Tier 1A and B, your employer might pay for the service credit, and Tier C and D can purchase it themselves. The cost is the contributions you would have paid during your unpaid leave and interest. It's based on your hourly rate before you go on military leave, just so you know. To get started, complete the military service request form and include a copy of your military discharge certificate. Okay, a few more final points on service credit purchase. We recommend that before you make any moves, compare the cost with how much it'll increase your pension. You really want to make sure it makes financial sense. You should discuss this with your financial or tax advisor. Next, when you request service credit from us, when you fill out one of those forms, we'll mail you a packet that includes the cost, how much service credit you'll receive, and payment options. So we'll give you 2 pension estimates with your packet. One shows your pension with the service credit purchase, and the other shows it without it. That way you know that the purchase will be worth it in the long run. If you decide to move ahead, you can pay by check, through a retirement account rollover, or if you're an active employee, you can pay through a payroll deduction, and that would be post-tax. Again, all service credit purchases have to be done before you retire. The longer you wait to start a service credit purchase, the more expensive it'll be because, as I mentioned, we are required to add interest. The interest is added at the end of June and the end of December each year. So if this applies to you, you want to do that service credit purchase, get it in as soon as possible. It'll be cheaper. Let's sum up what we've learned about service credit purchases. Redepositing with John contributions is for those who took a refund but came back to an SDCERA employer. Service before membership is for those who worked directly for the county as a temporary, hourly, or part-time employee. Sick leave without pay is for those who took unpaid sick leave and want to buy that time back. Prior public agency work is for those who worked for certain public agencies but won't get a pension from them. And military leave without pay is for those who took unpaid leave for military service and want to buy that service credit back. Again, all the purchase service credit forms can be found on our website. And after you submit the form, we'll send you back estimates with what your pension looks like with or without the service credit purchase.